If I buy the Shure wireless system SLX-D, what comes in the box? Well, you're about to find out. Today we're going to be talking about the Shure wireless system, the SLX-D, and we're going to learn what all comes with it. And this is a part of our series of what's in the studio. When we built our studio, we had to go through the purchasing process of buying our own gear, and we want to talk to you about that gear, why we made the choices we made, and why it might be the right choice for you. So let's jump into the box.
What's in the box?
Just some metal filings.
So I really feel like the SLX-D is the beginning of Shure's Pro microphone line. They have other items, other wireless transmission systems that are below the SLX-D, but it's when you get into the SLX-D that they really begin to bring features that are really important to the professional world. So when we open the box, we first have a user's guide. Now this is available online, but you might not want to throw it away. There is a lot of important stuff to reference inside here. There's also a couple of cards on how to take care of your warranty for you and or your customer if you're selling it. Probably want to look at those items. And then underneath this is everything that comes in the box. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot comes inside the box, and we're going to go through each piece because they have different accessories for the different setup that you might be using your SLX-D for. So let's just go through it step by step. The first thing we're going to take out here, this is your belt pack, all right? Now, we're going to talk a lot about how this is a wireless transmission system. I don't really like calling them wireless microphones because there's a different device that's the actual mic. This is a transmitter, and then this box is the receiver. So your receiver box is what goes into your rack or on your desktop or however you're deciding that you're going to use your SLX-D system. And this receives the audio that this thing is transmitting. So they're not microphones. The microphone is still in the box somewhere, but we're gonna find it together. Let's talk about your transmitter real quick. Transmitter, this is a 4-pin transmitter on the microphone connector, and we can talk maybe a little bit about the other options that you have, but this one is the 4-pin option. There's a little on-off switch here, real basic. The body pack is plastic in the SLX-D series, and that is one thing I don't love about the SLX-D. You have to take a step up to their QLX in order to get metal body packs. So there's some disadvantages. Probably not going to be as hardy, probably not something that you just want to put a part of a rental equipment or rental gear and then send it out all the time. And then on this particular body pack transmitter, you have a little screen that tells you what channel your pack is tuned to. And we can get into those settings a little bit later, but it basically tells you what it's tuned to. And then you can't really make any changes on the pack. There's no buttons, there's nothing physical.
Oh, really? Me, wow.
So literally just on and off, there's no mute button. There is a battery cavity in the back here where your batteries go in. It takes normal AA batteries, or Shure makes a rechargeable battery that you can use in your SLX-D system. So that is your transmission pack. Then your receiver has your XLR out on the back of it, so you can send the signal off into your audio mixer, whatever it is. And then it has two different antenna ports, an antenna A and an antenna B. That is called a diversity system. And a diversity system is where there's two antennas and it is making educated decisions on which antenna it should be paying attention to, dependent on where your transmitter is in reference to the two the two antennas. And the reason that that is so valuable is that it really helps prevent interference when you're working in the RF world. So all professional wireless transmission systems are diversity systems. And you also, if you're gonna have like an outboard antenna, you have to have a diversity antenna in order to be able to handle the diversity system. In this particular setup, they provide two little, these are like little antennas. They're called quarter antennas, and they would just screw onto the back of your receiver like this. And this is gonna allow this receiver to receive transmission between it and the wireless pack. Now, there's a lot of case usages where these little antennas are not really the best. And they're not really the best if A, you have a whole lot of wireless units that you're using together, or B, you're trying to really transmit over a long distance. This is at front of house, this is on stage. You've got, you know, more than 25, 35 feet between the two devices, and you're gonna have a lot of bodies between this and this. Well, that's gonna potentially cause interference. So that's when you would wanna upgrade into a more diversity system that has a combiner involved. So, all right, Bruce, you talked about what if there's a combiner involved, what do I do? Well, they've provided also inside the box little cables to jump units from the receiver itself into your combiner, and then your combiner will have more cables in order to go off into your diversity antennas. So that comes inside the box. There's also a little plate here that if you want to take two of these units and you want to put them together to form one RU inside of your rack, you're going to need a little plate in order to mount the units together. So this plate goes on top, puts the two units together, and then there's more inside the box. Specific to rack mounting, there are rack ears inside the box, and there's multiple styles of rack ears. So once again, if you are not putting this with a partner and you want it to be in the rack by itself, you're gonna use this rack ear. Let me take it out of the package real quick. You're gonna use this rack ear. You're gonna connect it to this right here. There's screws provided, and that creates one RU altogether. But if you're gonna put this with a partner, so instead of having a blank here, you're now gonna have a second unit, then they provide you with this rack ear. This rack ear is gonna go on the left side. Your partner's unit is gonna get connected via your plate right here. You're gonna put your partner unit here, and you're gonna take this rack ear out of that box, put it on this side, and now you've got one RU with two units going all the way across. Once again, there's tons of stuff inside this box, and it depends on how you're gonna use it, on how you need it, all right? So let me put all this to the side and keep going. Shure microphones are almost always known for their quality little handbags.
What's a 7-letter word for purse?
Satchel.
No, starts with an H.
Handbag.
Thank you.
So when you do go ahead and build out your kit and you decide, hey, I'm gonna go take my transmitter, I'm gonna put it in its bag, we're gonna do the microphone in just a second. You throw your microphone in here, then you take this thing, throw it in the drawer, and now you're good to go and everything stays together. So I love the fact that Shure provides this. Inside the box, they also provide some AA batteries to get you started. So if you grab this off the shelf and you gotta get going right away, well, the batteries are included for your first go on your system. All right. Inside this bag, we've got a lot of screws and adapters, okay? There are rubber feet in here. So if you want this thing to just live on a desk, you could put your rubber feet on here, and then now it could just live on the desk all by itself. There's also mounting screws that come so that you can mount your hardware that we've talked about. There's like these little plugs on here. They're little branded plugs. So if you're unfamiliar, when this is in the rack, this hole right here, if you're using an outboard diversity antenna like we talked about, you can use your cable to bring the antenna around and then front mount your antennas, all right? So Shure has provided all of those adapters inside the box. Right here is the barrel connector for the antenna, all right? So in the barrel connector, you push this through the front, this little piece here. It goes through like that. You screw this in the back, and now you can do your antennas on the front. But if you don't want to do that, then Shure also includes inside the bag these little plugs, and these little plugs snap in like, let's try to pay attention to where our logo is going. So it snaps in like that, and then now it doesn't look like it just has a hole in it. So it's a nice touch. And if you're installing this, make sure you're paying attention to how you're setting it up. And if you're not putting in the barrel connectors, then make sure you put in the plugs, because it makes it just look finished and complete, okay? So that's also inside the box. There's screws, washers, lots of little things in here. So once again, there's so much inside the box, I gotta keep cleaning up my area so that I don't have a giant mess in front of me. We finally have made it all the way down to the actual microphone. So once again, this is a transmitter. It's not the microphone. The microphone is whatever cable microphone that you select to go with it. On this box, it tells you that we chose the WL185 cardioid condenser lavalier microphone. That's what's inside this bag. So if I open this up, I'm gonna have additional pop filters that go on my microphone, and I have the actual microphone itself. There's also a little documentation on how to care for the mic, how the microphone is actually, the wiring diagram for your microphone in case you need to make any adjustments or changes to that. It tells you your power requirements anyway. So that's in the documentation there. And then here's our actual microphone. And comes wrapped up, comes taken care of. So if I undo all of this, here's the plastic coming off, and this is my lavalier microphone. Now, this is the point where it's really important for me to tell you, I have been talking into an SLX-D lavalier the entire time. We had a second unit, we went ahead and set that unit up, and so that's what we're recording this video on. But we are gonna show you our old microphone. We used to use the Rode Wireless 2 mic, and we're gonna do a little bit of A/B testing between those two microphones. The Rode microphone and this microphone, they're not in the same family, they don't belong in the same space, but we're gonna show you our two microphones, our old one and our new one, and maybe you can hear the difference between those two. But inside the box, now we've got our microphone. We also have our microphone clip, which is really important. So we want to take our clip. It comes off so that you can go left or right. If you're clipping a microphone onto a female's blouse, the buttons go a different direction than if you're clipping it onto a male shirt. And so that's why this is removable. So if I slide that on there like that, there's like a little groove in here, and you just want to have your clip set into the groove, and that's where it's designed to be. Then I would also take, where did I put it? I put it right here. There's so much in the box. I would take my pop filter and put my pop filter over my microphone, and that's just going to really help with, my plosives. If I was in an environment that might have air conditioning blowing or wind or whatever, that might also help with that. I'm going to take this capsule and I'm going to put it inside of my mic bag because I want to have that for the future. So I throw my batteries in there, throw that in there. Now I can take my microphone, I can throw that in there, I can take my belt pack in there, I can zip this up, and now everything's going to stay together. So thank you, Shure, for providing the pack. Going deeper into the box, we're almost to the bottom of the box. This is going to be your power supply. Obviously extremely important. So we're in the United States. We've got just a standard plug here, little adapter, and then it goes into the back of your system. Also kind of important to note, if you do buy a antenna distribution system by Shure, they have additional power adapters that come off of that with little jumpers. So one unit powers all 4 of your wireless receiver stations, or you can do the single, per station that comes inside the box. All right, that was a lot of stuff that came in the box. I'm gonna take an opportunity to clean up my desk. I got a lot of stuff out here. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk specifically about the SLX-D, what I like about it, maybe what I don't necessarily like about it, why it's the right fit in some situations, and maybe why it's the wrong fit in other situations. Let me start out by talking about my favorite feature of the SLX-D and the #1 feature that makes me choose this for certain applications. And it is this volume control knob on the face of the receiver. That's why I love it for some applications and I absolutely hate it for other applications. And let me tell you why. There are times in the professional AV industry where the person operating needs to have easy access to be able to control the volume of the device itself. And in those settings, this is really the #1 reason that you should sell this. You should sell it, you should have it if this is something that you see is gonna be changing and adjusting a lot. And if you don't want to always have to pull out a console in order to be able to change the volume of the microphone, you can do that right here. So a lot of times we have customers that have wall plates and the wall plate is built into a distributed audio system and they just want a simple way to be able to get a microphone into that system, but they want it to be a wireless mic where the person can walk around, MC, talk inside of a ballroom, whatever it is. And being able to have volume control on the face prevents them from having to set up a console in order to make that happen. They can literally just plug this straight into the wall. They can change the volume right here of the mic and they're good to go. Now, that's also the reason why I don't like it for certain applications, because there's a lot of applications where we want to set the gain structure correctly. We want the gain structure to go off to the DSP. We want the DSP to do its job, and we don't want the client messing with that stuff because we want the microphone to always work. It's really frustrating if somebody's changed gain structure, they've turned this down, we get a phone call, hey, it doesn't work anymore, and it doesn't work because the knob got changed. So there's times I don't want a knob. I don't want to give them that option. I want to have more control of the device. But then there's other times I love the knob. And so that's why I really think that this is a great product for those types of applications. Now, why did we choose it for our studio? Well, we chose it for our studio because it's a controlled environment and we know what's going on and we can manage this device properly. But it might not actually be the best product for a lot of professional and touring applications. So because of this, we decided to reach out to our friends at Shure and see if they'd have a conversation with us about their wireless transmission systems. Now, we're going to be releasing the whole conversation that talks about a whole lot of options that they have and the best way to apply those options. But specifically, Chris and I talked about the SLX-D and what it has that we think is special. Let's listen in to me and Chris.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna kind of draw a line in the sand for our anybody viewing this. We are gonna focus at SLX-D, and we're gonna go up. We're in the middle of a SLX-D video. For our studio, we selected the SLX-D as the wireless system that we picked for our studio, and we're happy with that product. And there's really good case usage of why this is the right system. And then we're, I figured while we had an opportunity to talk to Shure, we'd talk about y'all's products that are, definitely above that. So let's start with the SLX-D. The SLX-D, this product, it's a plastic, body. It's not a metal body. So everything else that we're going to look at is metal, right? The
Yes,
microphone bodies, yeah. So everything else that we're going to talk about would be, but the SLX-D is still in the plastic form.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit of a cost savings measure. It's also the battery format's a little bit different.
Yeah.
For a rechargeable anyway. So it was kind of a redesign in that pack that really helped us kind of launch SLX-D with great features at a great price.
Yeah. And the receiver pack, or this is the transmission pack, but it doesn't have as many options. Like I can't get in here and I can't, lock people out of the screen. I can't lock my mute. I can't change. It's a fairly limited product, but I'm going to tell everybody why I still consider this in what I'm going to call the pro line of y'all's wireless transmission systems. And it really comes down to the quality is good. You don't have high failure rates with this. I mean, it's not like you're getting a whole bunch of this stuff returned or anything like that. So it's proven itself in the market. But where I really think this thing shines the most in the professional audiovisual industry is that it's a high enough quality, but it still has a gain structure knob on the exterior of the device. And whenever I'm making recommendations for hospitality purposes, like hotels, hotel AV, small conference room setups, stuff, a lot of times they have a wall plate on the jack. They've got a touch screen that they can look at the wall plate, and the wall plate says mic 1, 2, whatever. And if you just give them a system that does not have gain structure control on the exterior of the body, it's really difficult for those operators to set that microphone correctly. So then they have to get a console out, then and they're really only getting the console just so they can control the gain of the mic. So I have found that that's still professional AV in my opinion. And that's where this product, it's kind of, what's where it starts for me.
Yeah.
Is it the best product if you've got a whole lot of wireless that you're trying to manage a ton of channels? No, but that's why Shure has other solutions. So let's start with this SLX-D. It has the 4-pin connector, right?
Yeah, it's called a TA4 connector.
Yeah. And so I have the ability, this is the microphone that we selected to come with our mic. But I have the ability, I could put pretty much any microphone inside this belt pack, right?
Yeah,
Not limited.
any wireless microphone that well, when I say wireless microphone, any type of lavalier or headset that we make certainly can interface with it.
Yeah.
But there's other microphone manufacturers as well that build mics that are compatible with Shure transmission systems. And so, if you wanted to use a DPA, for instance,
exactly.
you could do, or Countryman, whatever your favorite, ear set, headset, lavalier is, you can interface those as well.
Yeah, in my experience, you're not sacrificing a ton of fidelity in the SLX-D series, right? It's not like we've changed, like, oh man, I can't, get the quality of the DPA that I want or whatever microphone I'm using. The quality, the fidelity is still there. Just the form factors changed. Some of my functions in the pack, it's changed, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. In fact, maybe a lot of your users know that when you use a digital system, there's a conversion that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And SLX-D still provides one of the best conversions audio wise that's out there. And those codecs is what they're called. They just get better as you go up the line, as you would probably expect. But certainly for SLX-D, whether it's for spoken word or for music, singers, musicians, guitar players, whatever, it still really hits the mark. We do a lot of listening tests. We have a place in our Niles facility that is a recording studio. We bring musicians in to sing and play and listen and do. We do a lot of listening to try to make sure we've got things tuned just as good as we can.
Yeah. So, this isn't like a super hot topic. It's not something that everybody's researching. They wanted to learn more about, but it's still a product you guys have been producing. You had the SLX series prior to, and then you talked about this digital transition that has to happen because of where we're at in the industry. So then you transition to the SLX-D, which is the digital version. How long has this been on the market? 7, 8 years?
SLX-D, that's a good question. Probably at least 5 years.
Okay.
I think that's pretty close, 4 to 5 years. And for those of you that have experienced SLX, the analog version, this is a completely different beast. Things have been redesigned, like power switches, rechargeable battery options if you want to use that. The display screens are really high resolution. They look great. They're easier to see, even in direct sunlight. So for those that may have an outdoor gig somewhere, they're easier to see. So yeah, we're excited about it.
What do these units look like on the network?
Yeah. So network brings a couple of different options. You can interface with Wireless Workbench, which is our free tool, the software tool that you can download that helps you to not only coordinate your frequencies if you need to, but what I like about it best is like when you're actually in a show somewhere, when you're going, there's a monitor tab where you get to see live all the situation of your wireless system and like battery life. What does my audio look like? Is it loud enough? Is it too, is it too low? RF quality, how good is the RF, or excuse me, what kind of strength we have, what kind of RF strength we have.
And all of that's available in the SLX-D.
That's right, on Wireless Workbench. In fact, it's, you mentioned earlier too, if you interface a third-party control system, SLX-D also offers interface with that. So
That's
meaning
right,
like a Crestron or AMX or QSYS or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah, which is another extreme common case usage inside of hospitality is what we've found, is that's a really common thing. Okay, great.
I want to push pause on the content real quick and give a special shout out to my buddies, Sean and Brandon, and the entire Guitar Center Professional team. Guitar Center Professional, or GC Pro, is a group of salespeople dedicated to helping people just like you, the professional AV industry. So how can GC Pro help you? Well, they're a good group of people all over the nation, dedicated to helping people just like you get the best prices on gear. And if you want to get connected to your area GC Pro rep, make sure that you follow the description below and they'll get in touch with you. Now, as I mentioned, Sean, he serves Central Texas. Brandon, he serves Nevada, Utah, Arizona. So maybe you get a chance to talk to one of those two guys. But make sure that you go to the links in the description below, because not only is there information about GC Pro, there's also information about how to buy gear from us. When you buy gear from us, it helps us, and it also allows us to help you with special pricing. So go to the description below. Another special shout out goes to Geer Tech. Geer Tech is a manufacturing rep firm in the professional AV industry, and they've been serving the industry for over 25 years. If you're a manufacturer in the music, sound, broadcasts, or any other piece of the AV industry, you want to be represented by Geer Tech. So reach out to Geer Tech. That's GeerTech.net for more information. Now, back to the content. All right, so we did a couple of things off camera, and the reason we did these things off camera is because we already have an SLX-D in the studio running, and that's my microphone right here. And I realized that if I was rolling camera and I turned this whole system on without making any changes, it was going to interfere with the microphone that I had on. So a note to you, make sure that you're paying attention to what channels all your microphones are on so that they're not interfering with one another. But I want to take you through the process of how do you do that. Now, earlier I said that there are no buttons on this unit. That was not true. Liar! There are menu buttons over here where I can make changes to my pack itself, but we're going to be talking about the base station unit right here. We've added power to the unit, we've added XLR, we've got our antennas connected to the unit, and now you're going to go through the setup of the wireless frequencies. So the knob also acts as a way to get into your menu. You click that, and the very first thing it's going to offer you is to do your frequency setup. We're going to click enter for the frequency setup, and it's going to say guided frequency setup, meaning that it's going to take you through the process. I also want to say that we currently have an SLX-D turned on in the studio. So when this goes through the process to initialize my system, and it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to do a group scan? I say yes. It says turn off your transmitters, which I need to turn this off real quick. The reason it's telling you to turn that off is because if you want it to be a part of the new system, well, if it's on, like the microphone I have right now, it's going to scan, it's going to see my microphone, and it's going to say, hey, that frequency is taken and I'm going to move you to a new place. So when we hit this, it's not going to go to group 1 because my current microphone is in group 1. It's going to take us most likely to group 2. So let's take a look here. It is complete, and sure enough, it says, hey, we want to put you into group 2 because it already sees a microphone in group 1. Would you like to assign that? We click the assign button, and then it's going to give us, hey, we have to do a transmitter. We hit OK on that, and now it says it's time to assign your transmitter. We turn our transmitter on. On the side of the transmitter, there is an IR port, and on the side of your receiver, there's also an IR port. So as soon as I'm ready to put this pack in the same channel as this pack, I hit the sync button. IR begins to blink. I line up the 2 IR ports, and it's that simple. And now this microphone is set to this receiver, and I can test it by looking right here. The RF meter tells me that my antenna transmission is nice and strong. And then this right here is showing you the audio adjustments because my transmitter is now talking to my receiver. Now, because I mentioned it, and I mentioned the fact that I love having this control knob here, we need to talk a little bit about gain structure and how to properly set your gain structure. You have gain actually inside your transmission, which is going to be setting the gain of your microphone. You also have gain inside your receiver that's going to be sending it off to your audio system. You want to make sure that you have good structure throughout, and it does take a little bit of finesse to figure it out. But for this example, we're going to leave our pack at 0, and we're going to begin to change the gain structure here. In order to do so, we jump into our menu, we scroll down of our menu, and we see option number 3 is our gain level. If we click on that, it shows that we have the ability to increase our gain that we're sending out, or we also have the ability to decrease our gain going out. Because this external knob, Shure has made it extremely simple to make that change and that adjustment. And so if we're going to be training a client on how to use this unit properly, we do want to make sure that they know how to easily access that screen. Now, the reason that it's not always a volume control knob is because in reality, you don't want just anybody walking up to this thing and beginning to spin the knob and making adjustments to your sound system. You do still have to get into the menu, but it's so easy to get into the menu that it's not difficult to train somebody on how to do that. So for that reason, that's why we recommend it. Other things that are inside of the menu, not only how to set stuff up, you have your mic and line level, and you have your advanced settings, and you have help. I do encourage you to go to Shure's website and watch more of the training videos on all the different details of what's going on inside the menu, changes that you might want to make, changes you might not want to make, but you can find out more information on Shure's YouTube page about the SLX-D. But in our setup, believe it or not, we kept it super simple. Primarily because this is not a live audio setting and it's very easy for us to control. So our belt pack is at 0, our base station's at 0, it's all going into our mixer, and then at the mixer, we actually can control our EQ and our gain on the mixer level. It really depends on what your application is and how you plan on using it. But for us, in our controlled environment, 0, 0, 0 was great. We want to take this opportunity to do a little bit of A/B testing between the two microphones that I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing the SLX-D wireless transmission system microphone, and I'm wearing the Rode Wireless Go 2. Now, these two microphones are not even in the exact same category. They're very different microphones. But while I'm talking, we're going to be toggling back and forth and showing you the difference of the way these two microphones sound. The reason that they're not in the same category is because the SLX-D wireless system is really designed for live audio reinforcement versus the Rode, well, it's designed for run and gun video shooting. Now, that's the microphone we've been using for years. Why did we make the decision to make the change? We picked it because we know we can get higher fidelity out of the large diaphragm microphone. If you see here on my shirt, the large microphone is the Shure microphone and the small one is the Rode microphone. Now, the Rode microphone, it's doing some stuff inside of the device that really is beginning to change the gain structure and the attenuation of what's happening inside that microphone in order to try to predict what is going to create the best audio. On the Shure microphone, it doesn't have any of that. So we have one microphone that's trying to be smart, and we have another microphone that's trusting me to be smart. Wait a second. No, I can do that. I can do that. So that's why we decided to pick the Shure microphone for us. We did recently roll out 4 channels of wireless for a client of ours, and we chose the SLX-D for the reasons that I stated, because it's so easy for them to control the gain structure on the front of the device, because they do have wall plates and a distributed audio system. And they've been very happy with it. They've got little Rode cases that they can take it apart, put it inside of. It stays nice and safe, and they pull it out when they need it, and they just plug it straight into the wall, and they don't have to have any outboard gear. I will say that the plastic body is something that I wish it was metal, but this particular client, it's kind of a high-end hotel. They've got it deployed in their ballrooms. They're not worried about it getting beat up and dented. And these are pretty robust, so I don't want to make it sound like they break super easy. This plastic is robust, and it's going to last a long time in that setting. So we're happy that we made that choice for them and that we made this recommendation for them. We're happy that we made this decision inside of our studio, but I do think you just need to be thinking about how are you going to be using it and what are the type of people that you're going to be handing this over to, and do you trust that they can take care of it, because it is expensive and it's a little bit delicate, even though it's still pretty tough. So don't worry about the plastic body too terribly much. Also, the fact that the receivers are rack mountable, that's great. There's some other technology inside of it. Another thing we haven't mentioned is that these also offer a wireless workbench. That would be an entire other video we're not going to get into, but if you have multiple of these on the network, wireless workbench really gives you the control that you need as a professional over a large facility to manage your wireless system. So that's another reason why these units are great for that application as well. One question is it the right price? Is it the right price for what you're getting for this unit? And I would have to say, based on what I know about other wireless transmission systems in the market at this price point, this is a very competitive product at the price point. This is a metal chassis on the receiver. It is rack mountable. All of the ins and outs are professional grade. They're not gonna deteriorate over time. This is going to last a long time, and I really do think it's a great product for the price point. If you're in an environment that doesn't have tons of channels of wireless, you have a pretty manageable setup, and you trust the people that you're handing your equipment to that they're going to take good care of it, then you should really consider the SLX-D by Shure. It is a great product at the price point that it is, for an environment where you know that things can be taken care of properly. So if you're looking to buy the SLX-D system, make sure you go to the description below and find out how we can help you. Also, if you already use the SLX-D, we want to know how you're using it. That would be great information for us and for anybody watching this video. They can learn more about more applications. Please hit like and subscribe. Stay connected to the channel. That's how you're going to learn more and more about becoming an AV professional, including the video that just dropped about a conversation we had about podcast microphones right here.